well. So when you were squatting on the third attempt, I mean, if you watch this third attempt, it's real amazing. He completely holds position and fights through for a successful squat. Can you tell us a little bit about that third attempt, what it was like approaching the bar and then going through the motions? Do you remember much about it?
Yeah, well, I knew that I needed the squat if I wanted to keep my lead, because I opened the heaviest at 617, and that actually felt pretty. Actually, all my squats felt pretty heavy. So, like, you know, for me, I couldn't have the luxury of thinking that, you know, it was going to be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
But I wasn't anticipating the squats to feel as heavy as they did. I don't know whether it's because I was rehydrating. I wasn't rehydrating enough to make my body weight go back to where it usually is, or if it was just something mentally or something. But like, all my squats actually felt off that day. But, you know, I got 3 whites on my first and second. My handler, his name's Thomas Butler, actually does my programming. He actually called my third attempt, and it was only a 2.5 kilo jump, so it was like 7-10 pounds from the previous attempt. And I just told myself, if I don't hit this attempt, it's going to be really, really hard to come back and win the weight class. So the whole time when I was actually grinding through that sticking point, because I have it's a real apparent sticking point, midway up, I was just thinking to myself, I can't fail this attempt, because if I fail, it's going to be so much harder to come back from behind.
Well, it was a very impressive squat to watch, definitely, and we're proud of your success. And it seemed like after the squats, you started to really turn on, moving into the benches. The bench, first 2 attempts were moving really fast for you, and then your pulls were excellent. Finished strong. That 688 was pretty quick. Right?
Yeah, it felt pretty good. Benches. I had actually a pec tear in between last year's Raw Unity and then this meet called the Europa that RPS holds in Connecticut. Yep. So I actually popped my right pec, and there's actually still a dent here even right now. It's more of a superficial injury because I rehabbed it, but for a good six months, I was barely benching what I knew I was capable of. Getting ready for this meet, I had to make sure that, not only was this pec strong enough to not get re-injured, but also to actually put some pounds back on the press, because that's been my weakest lift for like the past year and a half at this point. And the first 2 flew because, that's what I expected. The 4th one, it was out of my hands, and, I don't want to throw my guy under the bus or anything like that, but had I known that he made me do 440, which was a 22-pound jump for my second attempt, I probably would have told him to go a little bit more conservative, because I did hit that in training. But with me, I always know that it's better to go conservative on the bench, even on the platform, even if it's a weight that I've hit before. Because I could have easily gone 9 for 9, but it was to win the super class and not just the weight class, so it was a calculated risk. Mm-hmm. You win some, you lose some. If I had to do it again, maybe I would have done things a little bit differently, but you can't really complain if the only miss was a third attempt going for an all-time PR too.
Absolutely, going for the record. So we're very proud of Carlos, and we're glad to have him training here at TPS. Let's talk about for the newer lifters, guys like yourself, say 7-8 years ago, that are interested in getting into training and powerlifting. What advice would you have for them as far as they're starting out their adventure into powerlifting?
Well, I'd say the first thing is find a solid coach, and he may not be maybe the most well-read or even a good lifter himself. But as long as that person thinks critically and can explain to you the hows and whys of why you're doing the things that you're doing in the gym, I feel like that's probably the most critical thing too, because I really wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the coaching that I got at this gym. I've been kind of like the homegrown product of this place for the most part. I can't really think of anybody else that's started from day one here and have gotten to like a certain point in their lifting. Yeah. Steve at the time, I think he was roughly the same body weight as me, and he was coming back from like an injury or something like that. So like, I wasn't thinking him as a good lifter, but as a coach, he put me through a spot where I really, really had to really do my homework and really understand the whole thing that we call training, because everybody can just work hard, but it's whether or not you can train smart on top of that makes good lifters become great lifters.
Absolutely. So what type of, how many days a week are you training in the gym currently, and when you're in a meet prep phase?
For the 90% of the time, I'm usually training 4 days a week of actual powerlifting training. I might have 1 or 2 general physical preparedness days or GPP days, which involves, whether it's sprints or general exercises like glute ham raises, lateral raises, rear delt work, bodybuilding isolation type movements if need be. As I get closer to a meet, it's still the 4 days frequency. But towards, I say, about the last 4 to 6 weeks, it drops down from 4 days a week to 3 days a week, because then those 3 days are specifically for squat, bench, deadlifts.
I see. So it's, before the meet, how many days out are you taking your heaviest lifts?
For the most part, I think for squatting, I take it up to about 2 weeks out. Okay. By necessity, I have to do my heaviest deadlift about 3 weeks out. It takes me a long time to recover from a heavy deadlift session. I believe for this Raw Unity prep, my heaviest set was 645 for triple on the deadlift, and then I hit 660 the next day afterwards, or the next week afterwards. And even though that's a heavy single, that was actually more of a volume deload, because 645 for triple is more aligned than 660 for a single, so about the 2-3 week mark. And then benching, I go heavy just about up until meet week, just because it's less taxing than the other two.
Okay, so are you taking a full week deload prior to the competition, or are you hitting some light warm ups on the same week of the competition?
I go to about 60% of my opener.
That's on Monday and Wednesday, or?
I do all 3 lifts. If it's a Saturday meet, on Monday. If the meet's on Sunday, it's on Tuesday.
Oh, I see. So 1 day for all 3 lifts at about 60, and then shut it down from there and just do some general mobility?
Yeah.
And then compete. Okay. Now, I know you tripled 635 in the gym prior to your competition. Was that your heaviest lift on the squat before competing, or did you take a single?
Oh, no, that was pretty much the heaviest I've ever gone to. I don't really take, heavy singles in most of my training, with the exception of the deadlift. But that's really more of a mental thing than it is more of a physical need to do singles. Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of high frequency and high volume. If you can do more work, you're going to get to your goals faster. I know not a lot of people tend to do that, but it seems to work well for me. My body responds to a lot of volume, so the way that my coach and the guy that programs me think, why worry about taking a heavy single, since I know I'm good for it come meet day, and just try to focus on just trying to get as much work in as possible.
That's great. I think it's important for each lifter to find a program and a path that kind of aligns with them and makes sense to them. So, that's part of the reason Carlos is so successful, is that he believes in his programming and he enjoys it. And he knows why he's doing it. So I think that's important for all lifters. So, Carlos, we really appreciate you taking the time for the interview and coming on in to sit down with us and share a little bit about yourself. We're going to definitely have Carlos on again. What do you think what's up next for you as far as a competition? You have something pretty soon, don't you?
Yeah, well, there's a meet that I really want to do. It's called Battle of the Bosses.
Okay.
It's a USPA meet in Mountain View, California. It's actually at Dan Green's gym called Boss Barbell. That's the name of the meet.
Yeah.
It's not 100% invite only. I think there's 1 day where it's open, but you do need to have a certain total.
Yeah.
So you have to send in your powerlifting resume to show you, how good you are in order to actually lift on one of those 2 days. So considering that my total is currently behind just Jesse Norris, who has a 2015 raw total of 188. The guy next up is myself and this guy named Garrett Griffin. And they're both invited to this meet. So I figure either I'm going to get an invitation or I'm going to just send in my meet entry form, and hopefully they'll accept me.
Okay, and what month is that?
That's going to be August 29th and 30th. So that's going to be the next time you'll probably see me on the platform.
Well, that's great to hear. So currently, Carlos, you ranked number two in the 198 Raw Classic weight class in the world.
Yeah, that's the current year.
That's amazing.
And then the best of the best rankings in Powerlifting Watch, my total is good for 6.
Number 6, best of the best, and that's all time, any year.
Yeah, since 2007 is when they started taking tabs of it.
Okay.
I also looked at the historical records, and it's pretty much matches up to 6 as well too.
All right, so he's rated up there, guys. So when you see him around, if you got a question, Carlos, I'm sure he'd be glad to help you out here and there. And we advise the newer lifters to come on in to check out a training day. Each Saturday, the third Saturday of each month, we hold a training day that goes over the basics of the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. And sometimes we have Carlos in there with us helping out, coaching, and he's always around the gym. So we're here to help the newer lifters, that's for sure. And do you have anything else you want to share for the newer guys?
Just think and work hard. You know, as long as you keep doing what you're doing, you believe in your training, and you understand why you're doing what you're doing, that's probably the most crucial part of being successful.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Carlos, for being on the interview, and we'll check back with him soon.